I'm going to hit go live in Instagram, and it's not doing anything yet. Hey, everybody, thanks for your patience. I think I'll just skip Instagram again. I don't know what happened, but I'm Tiffany, and I'm on StreamYard with my friend Celeste of Astrology by Celeste. And we are doing a special podcast episode, streaming to all the different platforms to reach the most amount of people. Really, it's just our intention to share some light and some information about chart rectification services, which is something that Celeste has trained in and is who I refer everybody to. If you don't know your birth time, I'm saying go to Celeste, Astrology by Celeste, and help work with her to find your birth time so that you can have accurate astrology. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Before we get going, I know that most of the people in Tiffany land know and love and adore Celeste, but if there's anybody new, would you mind just giving a short introduction?
Yes, I am Celeste of Astrology by Celeste. I'm an astrologer, a coach, and a teacher. And my podcast is the Celestial Insights Podcast, available wherever you listen to help you navigate the energies of the week like a boss. I offer personal readings, monthly new moon workshops. I do events for people. I teach classes. I offer cosmic coaching for people who want to really dive in and learn more about their birth chart over a time period in order to achieve goals or do shadow work or whatever you want to do. So that is me. My background is I came from corporate over 25 years in sales, marketing, and business development for Fortune 500 companies. And I went on my heroine journey, jumped off a cliff, and became a full-time astrologer, retired early in 2021 when
Isn't
Uranus.
that awesome? Like everybody wants to be Celeste. Everybody wants to like take that leap of faith, make the plan, become a professional astrologer. It's like your journey is so awesome. And Celeste and I met through Instagram. So if you're not already, you can find her at Astrology by Celeste. And just give her a like and a follow. I'm seeing some comments coming through. So we are podcasting. We are doing this live. And hi, Cinnamon and Jasmina and Lisa Rice. So glad that you guys are here. Welcome. The topic today is chart rectification. And so, this is something that I think is such an important skill to have as an astrologer, because it's such a bummer when you do a reading for somebody and they're like, oh, no, that wasn't my birth time. And one single minute can make a difference. It really can. It's not going to change, of course, the outer planets that much, but it can change the degrees. It can change, of course, the moon. The smallest adjustments do matter. So when somebody comes to me and they're like, I was born around 1 o'clock, I'm like, ooh, like I don't know. Yeah. Right.
But
Yeah.
I techniques like I can use horary and things like that to still give people a reading that's impactful, but it opens up a whole world in your life if you know your birth time. And I prepared a presentation today. So people on the podcast see the slides, but they can come to Instagram to Tiffany's channel or my channel and see see it on YouTube. So my YouTube is at Astrology by Celeste. And what is your YouTube channel, Tiffany?
I know, right? I was like, the reason I was so I'm currently it's Hey, it's Tiffany, which I'm just going to go back to my name, guys. And I haven't done that yet because I haven't talked with Celeste about the right date and time to make my change. But you can find me at Hey, it's Tiffany. If you Google Tiffany Harelik, Harelik, you can find me. And I'll, of course, have the links in the newsletter and all of our social platforms too. So do I need to do anything special to let you present, or do you
No,
just?
I can present, but I want to let people know that you should make sure you subscribe to both of us so that, because we're going to be doing more of these surprise lives. So you want to be in the know so you can be here live and put chat in the comments and we can answer your questions. Yes. Yeah. So
Yep.
hi, everyone. Hi, Jasmina and Cinnamon and Lisa and Barbie and everyone. Okay. So let me present my slides and I'll try to keep it. Oh, wait. I just want to present my screen. Mm. Oh, hopefully I won't show anything I shouldn't. Okay, good.
So that's hilarious. While you're finding that, I'll share that I joined in the name of not showing anything I shouldn't. I joined one of Celeste's classes from the bathtub, and it was so hilarious, like the most embarrassing moment of my life. Oh
Wait,
my god.
what's going on? I can't see it. Okay, wait.
Okay, here we
Uh-oh.
go. I added it to the
Okay.
stage. Now there we go.
Okay, now how do I do this? Maybe I need to put it on the side here, my side here.
Oh,
And
that's
then
not
can
right.
you still see it?
That doesn't. No. Yeah, if you hit present from there, and then yeah,
Does
that's
that look
great.
okay?
That's great.
Okay, so that's me. Okay. Okay, I always like to start with a quote, and I love this quote. If it is in your heart, it's in chart. I heard it from Rick Levine, but I'm not sure he said it first, so I will call it unknown, but the wise Rick Levine brought it to my attention. So the agenda, I just want to talk about some natal chart basics so that we make sure everyone's grounded in the natal chart, then talk about chart rectification, and then give an example. And I'm really going to try to keep it brief, Tiffany. So you may need
That's
to help
good.
me because you know
That's
how
okay.
I like to talk. So
Yeah.
yeah, so just making sure everyone knows what the natal chart is. It's a snapshot of all the planets at the moment of your birth, and it defines your personality, and it's a map of your entire life. It's a cosmic calendar about the important events in your life. Everything in your life is in your chart. And there are really four aspects of the natal chart, and you can think about it as a life on your life. The chart is like a stage of your life, a theater performance stage. And each of the planets are one of the actors, and they each have a specific function to express and a unique role. Like the sunshine, our sun sign, our sun is what we are here to do in this life. It's our ego, it's our essence. The moon is how we need to feel safe and nurtured, and each of the planets has a role like that. Do you want to say anything else about the planets, Tiffany? See them?
No,
There are these
we teach
glyphs
this.
here.
Yeah, no, we teach this the very same way through being the actors. I also like if saying about like just the archetype of the teacher. So there can also you can learn them through the role of the teacher. So there's this energy of the planets that they're bringing forward. So that's great.
I love that. Yes. And the signs they're in are the costumes they wear. So the costume of a judge is very different than the costume of a revolutionary or the costume of a teacher or whatever. So those are the different signs, and there are these 12 different signs that the costumes, and they color the expression of the planet. They're the interior designers of the next thing, which are the houses, which are the areas of your life where the action takes place. It's the where. Yes. So you can think of the houses like rooms, like the set pieces on the stage. Like one is the dining room set, one's the living room, the office, the bedroom. Different things happen in these different areas. Anything else you want to say about the houses or the signs?
No, that's great.
Yeah. And then the aspects are these lines, these red, sometimes they're green, sometimes they're blue lines between the planets. And this is the dialogue, the conversations the planets are having. Sometimes they're a little, sometimes the planets are having a little tense aspects, tense conversations like squares and oppositions, and sometimes conjunctions. And sometimes there's more ease and flow, like the trines and the sextile. So that's what you can think about that as the natal chart. Anything else you want to say about that to round that out?
No, I think that's great. The aspects. It's kind of like when you're walking into the room. and your favorite aunt is there and you can't wait to start talking and you get all excited and you get all chatty and this energy is flowing between you versus somebody that maybe is from your past that you don't have peace with that walks into the room and it changes the whole vibe of everything. And you're not leaving that room, so you got to breathe through it and work through it. And this is kind of what the aspects represent. But going into your favorite coffee house has a certain frequency to it versus going into a coffee house that you don't like, that is too chaotic, or that is just like there's too much frenetic energy in there, right? The aspects really show the energy between two or more of the planets. And so this is what we're looking at too when we're doing predictions. Of course, we're looking at transits and how the sacred geometry is affecting or lighting up or illuminating your chart. But the aspects, our friend Sarah El Harar, she calls it the secret sauce. Everybody can learn planets, everybody can learn signs, everybody can learn houses. You guys can do this. In fact, I'm teaching beginners astrology tonight. If anybody wants to hop in last minute at astrology.lisawilliams.com. But the idea is that you can absolutely learn and demystify planet signs and houses. Once you get to aspects, that's where it starts to make sense, because, for example, I have Mars in my first house. That's one thing, but it's conjunct Neptune. That's a whole other thing. So the aspects that Celeste is teaching about right now, I think that's just a great way to put it. It's what's the energy between two of the planets, and it's using sacred geometry. That's where like a lot of people freak out about astrology. It's like there's a number and then there's math and then I have to know math, and it's really not mathy. If you know me, I'm not that mathy.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I don't teach it that mathy either. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so these are the basics of the natal chart. And if you just know your birth date, the things you can know are all of typically most things don't change. Most of the planets don't change signs on a daily basis, except for the moon. We call the moon and the sun planets in astrology. The moon rules very fast and it changes signs every 2.5 days. So it's often changing signs on a day. So if you don't know your birth time, you may not know your moon sign. The other thing you need is for the houses, which are really where astrology just can blow your mind. You need to know the houses. You need to know the time you were born, because yeah, this is why you need to know the exact time. Yeah. The angles are determined by the place and the time you take your first breath, and I'll get into the angles on the next slide. And the houses bring everything to life in a lot of ways, just like the aspects. And the ascendant, like, is literally your physical body, your health and vitality. So knowing your ascendant, which you cannot know unless you know what time you're born, is so important. And it's a useful tool to understand more things about yourself. And they're 360 degrees in the zodiac. It's a circle, and the degrees change 1 degree every 4 minutes. So potentially, if you say I was born between 1 and 1:30 p.m., we could be totally wrong with your ascendant, with all your angles. We won't know your houses per se. And we may not know your moon sign. So this is why you need the time. Yeah. And once you
and don't waste your money, don't waste your money going to an astrologer that will see you without an exact birth time, because it's going to be misinformation. Not like, I'm not suggesting that somebody's doing it on purpose, but just don't waste your money until you get your chart rectified.
Yeah. Well, I do horary, so you can use astrology without your birth time. But you know so much more if you have your birth time.
Yeah.
It just like blows the roof off. Yeah.
Yeah.
And a big thing, you'll understand which. Oh, it looks like I'm frozen. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
Okay, I'm back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Every person in your life is in your chart. And you find them from understanding which planet rules the house that rules and represents them. And you can't know that without knowing all of the houses. So you can see what's coming up potentially for your spouse or your child or your sibling by knowing more, or understand them better, your relationship with them better, by having your birth time, so that you can have all your natal chart houses known.
Yep. It's a great point.
Okay. Yes. So the when you're born, you can consider your mother's giving birth to you, like in the center of the chart. Assume that's her. When you take your first breath, assume the doctor runs out to the eastern horizon and looks for what sign is coming up over the horizon and the degree of that sign. And that is your ascendant. It's also called the rising sign. It's denoted as the AC, and it's always at 9 o'clock on the clock. If you look at the chart like a clock wheel, for every kind of house system, except for people who use whole house. But every other house system, they're different house systems, but the angles are always the same, no matter the house system. And this is the rise, where you're rising into this life. It's the place where the heavens meet the earth. Your soul is incarnated. We call this line the first house cusp, and all of these are the cusps of the houses. There are 12 houses, and the ascendant is the front door to your chart. It's your first house, the house of the self, vitality, how people see you. Sometimes it's called the mask we wear, what our soul is rising up to. It's the most important point of your chart. Anything else you want to say about the ascendant or the first house?
No, I mean, I think that's great. This was something that unlocked a lot for me when I was learning about myself in astrology in the year 2000, because my rising sign is so different than my chart. And that's how everybody saw me, right? I remember being like a little girl and writing this piece of work that my mom was like, "This isn't you." And I'm like, but it is me. So even my parents were seeing my little Sag rising, my party girl, my Jupiter, my, happy to go travel and truth quest. And so your rising sign, this is a part that helps you understand that people see you differently, and that you do have a role to play in that. And to me, it's a very exciting piece of the chart to study, also just because of it relating to the physical body, and my interest in health and psychology and how those two relate. So yeah, I know it's always confusing, guys, when you're thinking about like the eastern horizon, but it's the west side of the chart. It's always kind of a thing to chew on. But yeah, that AC on the far left side is actually the eastern horizon that we're looking at. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I love that because, and Tiffany, you're a Scorpio. So did you relate to that Scorpio energy
Oh
more
yeah,
than the Sag rising? Mm-hmm.
I totally related to the Scorpio energy, and much more than the Sag. And so it took me a while to figure that whole dynamic out. But yeah, I definitely, especially as a younger person, the Scorpio energy, there's a sense of maturity that's very different than Sag energy. And so I always felt like nobody was in charge of me, and that's no disrespect to my adults who I love very much. But I just felt like a little adult. Like, you can't tell me what to do. Like, I just felt much more scorpionic. I was always like wanting to go to the metaphysical bookstore and look around taboo topics. I didn't want to be like around a lot of people. I liked my own private, I was never bored a day in my life. I'm an only child, so my privacy and time alone was important to me, and just much more scorpionic earlier in life. Yeah.
Yeah, most people relate to their sun sign and understand that energy. Not everybody. Sometimes people have what we call a stellium, a concentration in a different sign that they more relate to. But a lot of people relate to their sun sign, and learning your rising sign, how other people see you, is can be can be incredible. Like I'm a Taurus and I totally get the stable, practical, grounded, routine, loving, sensual loving aspect, but I'm a Cancer rising. And I was like, wow, is that why? I have some friends from college who call me Mama. Cancer is the sign of the mother, and like Mama Celeste is a pizza kind of thing. But people have always like come to me telling me their secrets or
Right.
entrusting me, looking to me to help nurture them my whole
Mhm.
life or take care of them. And that explained, and that duality, and Cancer and Taurus are sextile, so people see me as a rock that can provide comfort.
Mhm.
It's an easy flowing sextile, whereas Scorpio and Sagittarius are
Mhm.
signs that are in conjunct. There are semi-sextile, so they don't really see each other. So for Tiffany, it was like, huh? You see me like that? What? Yeah. So that's an example of the astrology at work. Hello, Chaley. Welcome, welcome. Put any questions in the chat. Okay. So, and immediately opposite the ascendant is the descendant. And on the day, and the sun rises above and then sets at the descendant. If your sun is above the horizon, you were born during the day. Below the horizon, you were born during the night. And that's important in astrology. So you don't know what your sec ruler is unless you know if you're born when you were born, is another thing. The descendant is your partner. So your love partner, your best friend, your business partner types. Yeah, it can also be open enemies. So just say your spouse. So that knowing what is the sign on the cusp of your descendant and what planet rules that sign tells you so much about your potential marriage partners.
Mhm.
Yeah. And the midheaven is the reach. So we have the rise. We rise into this life at the ascendant. We reach for the highest we can achieve. The midheaven is a point in the sky. It's a imaginary point, not a literal body. The sign and the degree is that is the highest the highest point any planet can travel on the horizon on the day of your birth. It marks the 10th house of career, status, public reputation, um, and your attitude towards achievement. And it's like what we're reaching for. So the ascendant's the rise, the midheaven's the reach. It tells you all about your job. Like you can see, oh, I may be getting a promotion if you know your midheaven. Oh, I better be careful at work. There looks like there could be some conflict coming up. Mars is coming to my 10th house. Yeah, it can help you time and understand things that are going on. Anything you want to add, Tiffany?
No, I mean, it's just such a great exploration, right? Like my to carry the conversation, my midheaven is in Virgo and my descendant is in Gemini. Both of those are ruled by Mercury, right? My Mercury is in Scorpio. So it all goes back to Scorpio, right? But the learning the midheaven for me helped me understand that it didn't matter what I did. So this is where a lot of people talk about career and purpose, and a lot of people are very interested in purpose when it comes to looking at your chart. But for me, it's not like my purpose is to be a insert Virgo topic, right? Data analyzer, church worker, gardener, like whatever, right? What I came to learn about the midheaven is it doesn't matter what I'm doing as long as I'm doing it in, for me, a Virgo way. So I can talk about beekeeping, which is ruled by Mercury. I can talk about astrology. I can talk about plants. And it doesn't matter what I'm teaching or doing or working in, as long as I'm delivering bite sized chunks that somehow are helpful and useful to people's health, the earth, and it comes across as my purpose is unfolding through this costume of Virgo. So it really takes the pressure off when you have purpose FOMO or career FOMO, or you're feeling like something's not matching up, or you're not in the right job, or you're not feeling appreciated or respected or recognized. Well, are you doing it in your midheavens way, right? So I guess that's what I can contribute to that portion of
I
the chart.
love that. I love that. And I have Aries on the midheaven. And my Mars in Gemini in my 11th house of groups, friends, organizations rules my midheaven. So I have to do it in a way which I feel like I'm inspiring people to take risks and challenge themselves. Aries. It has got to be fun, Aries. And I use communication and words in a straightforward way. Mars ruling Aries and Mars in Gemini, the communication, the talking. I like to throw in a little joke here and there, try to make it funny as well as dynamic. So I do everything in an Aries way. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and
I love
you're very
that. I'm going to steal that, Tiffany. That's a
please do.
great way to put it. I love
Yeah,
it. Okay.
yeah.
So we talked about the rise, the reach, the rest. Hopefully you can rest with your partner, the
Mhm.
descendant. The
Yeah.
root is the IC, exactly opposite, 180 degrees opposite the midheaven. It's the nadir. It's also called the IC, imum, colium, or something like that. It's the point opposite the midheaven, the fourth house cusp. The fourth house is the house of home, family, foundations, roots, ancestry, our most private part of our chart. It's our personal midnight. Yeah,
Mhm.
so these are the angles, and you will not know these what they are unless you know your birth time, and you want to have it as exact as possible. So even if you know your chart, if as many like you may still want to come for a mini rectification just for double checking. Yeah, and you can let me know that if that's what you want. But each of the houses
Mhm.
is an area of life. The first house is the self, the vitality, the physical body. The second house is the resources, the money we make. The third house, things close to us, siblings, early childhood education, like cousins and things like that, our local community. The fourth house is a home, family, foundation, the self. It's also the house of the father. The fifth house is a house of children, the things we do for joy, sex, dating, romance, risk taking, vacations. The sixth house, the house of daily life and habits. Small pets fall here. It's also employees. It's also the house of, I love how you say preventative health, but it's also the house of illness. So
Mhm.
knowing your ruler for there, seeing when things are coming to that house could be helpful for you to know, okay, I got to really focus on my routines, rituals for better health. The
Mhm.
seventh house, partner, the eighth house, the house of deep psychological processes, death, transformation, taxes, other people's property and resources, intimacy. The ninth house, higher learning, broadcasting, religion, belief systems. A 10th house career, 11th house friends, organizations, groups, and the 12th house, the house of secrets, the house of self sabotage, hidden angels, mysticism type things, solitude. So these are the houses of the charts, and you can't know them unless you know your birth time.
Amazing.
So chart rectification. So what a chart rectification is, it's reverse engineering your birth time from events of your life. So what you will do is you will provide important events in your life, at least 10, but hopefully closer to 20, and you provide just the date. If you know the time, you can provide the time. If you just know something happened in a month, you can just say that on your intake form. Also, you want to bring them throughout your life. So, like the older you are, the easier it is to do rectification because you have, more events in your life. Yeah. So you'll give me this list. You'll also describe yourself, your most important relationships, your hobbies, things like that. And then there's a software developed, it's called Jigsaw. And I put in all the information, and then it comes up and it gives me percentages. It gives me sometimes, someone you referred to me, he's a gentleman who's in his 80s. He gave me like 40 birth events and it came up 100%.
Woo! That's
But
awesome.
usually, sometimes I'll get 4 different times, sometimes I'll get more, depending on how many dates a person gave me, and how impactful they were in their life. Yeah, and
Mhm.
so I use the software to give me potential dates, but then I go check it with all these different techniques. So, we have our birth chart. There's a snapshot of all the planets. The planets keep moving, and that's called the transit. So when planets in the sky make geometrical aspects to planets in their chart, we're having a transit. And so that's one way to check if did when this event happened, is one of the angles, it has to be one of the angles being impacted as a confirmation of birth time.
Mhm.
Yeah. Eclipses are big new moons and full moons. Eclipses are one of the best ways to double check things, because when something really big happens in your life, there's typically a story in the eclipse preceding the event or right after the event. So I check it with the eclipses. It's incredible what we can see from eclipses. Solar arcs is a technique called it's like we look at this how the planets are arcing, so they all have the same geometrical relationship, but essentially we turn the wheel, we put your chart outside your natal chart and essentially turn it like a degree a year. And then as the planets come and make aspect with our natal charts, or we get transits from the solar arc, events pop into our life. So that's solar arcs. Progressions, then solar arcs are theoretical, transits are actually what's happening. And then progressions are a day for a year. It's another different type of technique where we can look at our progressions to our natal chart as well as the progressed moon phases. So there are all these different things that we can use to test the birth time that the software came up with is right. And then I look at the ascendant, how the person described themselves. Does this make sense? How the person described their relationship. We can look at the relationship between the ascendant ruler and the descendant ruler to see how they relate to their spouse, the ascendant ruler to the fifth house ruler to see how they relate to their oldest child as the fifth house. And there are other ways to split your children up. Yeah, and things like that. Okay, Charlie, I don't think it's a good idea to never date anyone based on their natal sign. We should not use astrology to pathologize people, is my opinion, because you may miss out on a potential soulmate because you're not dating them because they're a Virgo sun, but maybe their Mercury is in Leo or in Libra or whatever. They may be a Virgo, but they may have all these other things in their chart that make them the perfect person for you. So that's just my little rant about that.
I
You mean Pisces? No, Virgo. She says, no, I mean Pisces. I wouldn't say that for Pisces either.
I know. Poor little Virgos and
Yeah,
Pisces. We
don't
love
don't. I
you.
think you could potentially lose out by eliminating people just based on one piece of the puzzle of their chart. So
Yeah.
anything else you want to say before I give this example?
Well, just for everybody listening on the podcast, it's so what are some of these life transits and some of these life events? So if I was going to do chart rectification, and I know that you have an intake form and a proper list and all of this that people will
Oh, and
will
I have the
receive.
list in a later slide.
Oh, then I'll wait. I'll wait. I'll wait.
Okay, yeah, I'll tell people about what events to give me.
Okay.
Okay, so I want to use this. You know how I love mundane astrology, which is the astrology of current events. And just this Monday, um, there Ecuador, the country. So it's not just people who have a natal chart. Countries have a natal chart. Corporations have a natal chart. Your pets have a natal chart. Yeah, everything has this natal chart. Businesses have a natal chart. This is the natal chart for the country of Ecuador. And what happened is a drug dealer escaped from prison, and all these drug gang people are causing chaos, like they ran into a TV station and took it over. The leader is called the state of emergency. So when we're doing rectification, the first thing we want to confirm is that the angles are being impacted by an important event to make it a useful time that's really showing this chart. So what's happening for Ecuador, they have their ascendant is at 20 degrees of Taurus. And right now, Uranus is at 19 degrees of Taurus. So they're in a mundane astrology for a country, the ascendant in the first house represents the people, the country, how it's perceived from outside the world, the state of the health of it. And Uranus can bring on the shadow energy chaos. Uranus just breaks things. It's also revolutions, riots, these sort of things. It's the opposite principle to Saturn. Like Saturn's structure, Uranus wants to break things to, in the Uranus mind, make things better, but it can also come through chaos. So Uranus on their ascendant totally speaks to what's happening right now. The other thing we see here is we see that Chiron, the wounded healer, in the sign of Aries, Aries is the sign of conflict, is in a smooth, easy flowing trine with the fourth house cusp, also at 15 degrees. So I want to see to the angle, I want to see either the exact number or a degree on either side when I'm using this. So it would have to be 13 to not 13, 14, 15, or 16 for me to count it. And Chiron, wounded healer, the fourth house in mundane astrology is the house of the rebels. So that confirms as well. The rebels are running around shooting people and being violent. Yeah. The transit that set this off was Mercury square Neptune. So that's the timing I'm using for the event. And you can see Mercury in Sagittarius here. The sign of its detriment is in the 8th house of death, loss, anguish of the mind. Like the 8th house is a house of difficult things, can be, with the 8th house. And it is in a trine to their natal Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in the 12th house. The 12th house rules, I'm sorry, Jupiter South Node conjunction in the 12th house. The South Node is a cosmic drain. Jupiter frees us from things. The 12th house is prison. So this confirms the story using the houses. So once I check all the angles, then I start looking at the transits to see if they tell the story of the story. And so I've color coded these. I don't know if you can really see
you did. I love it. My Virgo midheaven is like, oh, I love it.
Good. And you can see the moon rules the people, and the moon rules in this chart. You see you have Cancer on the 3rd house cusp. So the moon rules the 3rd house of media, TV, newspapers, and all these things in mundane astrology. And Chiron at 15 Aries is trying the moon at 15 Sagittarius. The moon rules the 3rd house. These rebels stormed into a TV station and took people hostage. So that, again, confirms the story through the lens of the houses. Yeah. And the sun is flooding the ascendant with light. And we're going to have a new moon in Capricorn tomorrow, trine Uranus. So there is more to this story, more that's going to be unfolding, but it looks like the government is starting to get control. But we shall see, because Mars is going to be trine Jupiter. Expansion of conflict. It can be Mars trine Jupiter. So we'll see what happens. But that's how the steps I take after I get a suggested birth time or a couple of them. And like, there's an art to rectification is an art and a science. You can run the software, but you have to be able to confirm it by what you're seeing in the natal chart. And I studied with Carol Tebbs, who wrote a book on rectification at Kepler College. So if you want to get learn how to do this yourself, I highly recommend you take the class. It is hard. It is a lot of work, but you learn how to do it by hand before you start putting into the software. So you really know what you're doing and what you're seeing, and making sure you really understand what's behind it. Don't go to someone who just uses the software and doesn't know what behind the scenes is really going on.
I love that you said that, Celeste. I was cleaning out a closet at our family home, I don't know, this summer, and I found all of my original chart drawings. Like, my first teacher had us do it the longhand way, and I just think that it's such a great, if you get a teacher that will teach that way, I think it's so wonderful to have that in your toolkit. I want you to teach chart rectification. I want to learn it from
Okay,
you.
well, I got a lot of classes I'm coming up with. That'll be one of them. Right
Yeah.
now, I just finished my basic astrology, the first. I'm doing my next level astrology class, Astrology Foundations 201, to really teach people about the chart rulers and like get deeper into chart, understanding the chart. I've got a whole list of classes I want to teach. So I'll add chart rectification to the list, but it might be a while.
Yeah, no, that's
Oh,
fine. Go
there's
ahead.
one more thing I wanted to say about
Yeah.
what's going on. And this is happening not just for Ecuador. Israel's moon is about 4 degrees of Leo as well. And so you can see there's a yod here. Saturn in the 10th house at 3 degrees of Pisces is quincunx the moon in the 3rd house, the natal moon at 4 Leo, and Mars in Capricorn is quincunx the moon at 4 Leo. And Mars and Saturn are in sextile. Mars and Saturn take away from life. They are the malefics. Mars is really strong in Capricorn. It's exalted. The yod is a chart pattern that's you've been pointed at. So Mars sextile Saturn, violent actions, and there's like the trying to control it by the government. The moon, the people of Ecuador are in chaos in the 3rd house, and on the news and the TV station. You see all of that. Notice if anything comes up around Israel that's new. But the full moon is going to be at around 4 Leo. So the full moon at the end of the month, all will be revealed. So really notice how more and more stories come out about, maybe we'll know how he got out of prison. I wouldn't be surprised if it was through a tunnel. Mercury rules tubes of all kinds, transport of all kinds. And it was square Neptune. He got out of the prison undetected.
Yeah. Whoa. Right. And I also just want to bring up that Jupiter's creeping up to catch up with Uranus, and will be conjunct right with Uranus in April, on April 20th. And that will be right on the inside of that 1st house there. So there's still more to the story. There's still more unpredictable things. Jupiter, the cosmic magnifying glass in the sky. We were joking earlier this year. Celeste and Sarah and I did 2023 predictions forecast. It's still available for the same price. So if you missed the predictions forecast and you're wondering what we thought about the whole year, you can go back and get that. And one of the biggest transits that we talk about, of course, is the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. And so that can be big windfalls. That can blow things up. That can be big explosives. It's highly unpredictable, especially at the world level. At the personal level, it can be different. And so when we're looking at kind of these world events that can come across as very scary, very threatening, very upsetting to the nervous system for a tribe of humanity that has been through so much, the last several years especially, what can you do, right? You're not gonna like say an affirmation and fake yourself out for all of this stuff, but you can be prepared. You can, with astrology, you can be aware that there's some probably upheaval, probably unpredictable circumstances. And so if you yourself are feeling like things are unpredictable and uncontrollable, right? The human condition is to try to control everything, right? And so how can we open our mind to infinite possibilities in a way that feels good to our nervous system? Well, especially if it's something that's completely unpredictable. These types of events are what build our faith. These types of events are what help us surrender to something greater. And astrology gives us the map for that, which I think is totally fascinating and total and so cool. And there's so many lenses for it. There's so many astrologers you could choose. I think I can say for both Celeste and I, it is an honor and pleasure to do this work with you all. It's to be of service in this way. And, Celeste has this passion for looking at these world events, and I always am like, oh yeah, like you always bring something up that it just makes it so real. And so I know you have another slide, so
Okay.
I'll
Yeah.
I'll
One more
realize,
thing about this.
yeah.
Uranus is retrograding, and it's square the sun of the country, and the sun rules the leader. So you can see how all this stress and pressure is on the leader and the authorities. But Uranus is going to go direct. It's not going to ever perfect that Uranus square the sun. So they'll maintain control. But like Tiffany says, we need to be watching Ecuador, for what happens between now and April 20th, when that Jupiter-Uranus conjunction happens on their ascendant, because this is a make or break time for them, as well as like Israel, with that conjunctions coming towards the Israel sun in Taurus. That's the sun at 23 degrees of Taurus. So there's,
One more thing about
these are
that
two.
sun, it's in Leo and it's in the fourth house. And fourth house, you traditionally would study that as home and family. Celeste mentioned father. Another way that I love to describe the fourth house is roots and refuge. And so this is where you take refuge, and it's not always your home. It's not always your home country. I have Pisces on my fourth house cusp, and my dad gave me the best advice. He was like, make home a place you run to, not away from. You don't have to escape your home, and so this idea that sun is in that fourth house of roots and refuge, and making that challenging, getting very close to that challenging aspect with Uranus that's so unpredictable. What will happen to the leadership, right? Not necessarily the leader specifically, but the leadership of the country. Who will be uprooted? Who will be choosing new homes? Who will be seeking refuge? And who will be in refugee mode? So I just wanted to share that part too.
Oh, beautiful, Tiffany. Yeah. Okay. So chart rectification, I will send you a questionnaire. You'll email me at Celeste at Astrology by Celeste, and I'll send you a questionnaire to complete, where you'll give me your birth. You have to have your birth date. There are people who don't know what day they were born, but I need you to have your birth date. I can maybe refer you if you don't have no birth date. Yeah. And the place, and any information you have about the time. If you know it was within an hour this time or in the morning, any information that you have. You describe your work and your career and your lifestyle and your education level, hobbies, interests, your family, your children, your personality, how other people see you, your most significant relationship. And then you'll list a bunch of dates. And the more impactful the date, the more useful it is. And especially things that come unexpectedly, like you got a promotion, or you had a car accident, or you like fell and hurt yourself, or things like that are really helpful. Yeah. Like somebody died in your life unexpectedly. Yeah. Your spouse lost their job. Yeah. So you can see everybody in your chart, so you can see that. Now you also give like birth of children, birth of siblings, that sort of thing can also be helpful. The date you got married, but with those you've been planning for a while. Like before you give birth, um before you give birth, you've been pregnant for 9 months. So, or your spouse has been pregnant for or somebody else has been pregnant for 9. So, yes. Yeah. The day you start a job, the day you end a job, especially if you just stand up and say, I quit and walk out, that's a great time. To divorces, surgeries. Yeah. All these things are great. And as many as you can, at minimum of 10, but as many as you can throughout your life, If there are a bunch of dates that are clustered together, you can give them. But what I have to do is only pick one within 6 months. So
Okay.
yeah, we need dates across your life.
So hobbies and interests change over time, right? Like there was a period of time where I was showing horses professionally. There's a period of time where I'm beekeeping. Do you like to get multiple lists like that?
Yes, that tells me that gives you that mutable energy
Yeah,
of the Sag rising. Now the hobbies could be about like the 5th house, but also if you have a lot of varied hobbies, that's really good to know as well, especially since you're a Scorpio sun, which is fixed. But the
right.
Sag rising is mutable.
Mhm.
Love horses, Sagittarius. Yeah.
Yes. Okay,
Yeah.
did you
And
see yet I don't know, I
12th
think it's
house, you
on.
got 12th house stuff going on.
Yes, true.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. So this
did
takes
you
time.
see
So
the
this is a time. Go ahead.
I think we're on a delay. Did you see I think it's called The Curious Case of Natalia Grace. I think it's on
Not yet. I
Amazon.
want to
Might be.
see that. Yes.
Okay, that is a chart rectification mystery, and I think that would be after you watch it. Let's do another StreamYard and discuss because I think that would be such a fun and interesting one to really dissect, and bless her heart and everybody that was involved. I just think it's so curious,
Yes.
and she's not the
Yeah.
only one like that, right? So it's very that would be a fun one to chat about.
Yeah, because she was a
Yeah.
Russian, right? Adopted by a family who's accused her of being like 22 years old, but DNA testing showed she's really 9. She was 9 when they got her. But it's a wild, wild story. So I have to watch that
Wild.
on Netflix.
Yes.
And then,
Yeah.
yeah, we can talk about it.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
We'll discuss.
yeah, yeah. And so I said, yeah, dates across your life at the time if you have it. If you don't, it's okay. If you don't know the exact date, but I had my appendix out in September of 2021 or whatever, you can add that. Yeah, be as specific as possible. The more detail, the more easier it is, and the more likelihood I will come to you with an accurate birth time that can blow open the doors of your life and your personality and the timing of things that are going on. Yeah. Key events like the birth of younger siblings, graduation, marriage, children, job change, relocating a long distance, moving, buying your first house, all these things can be included. But like I said, the sudden events are really helpful.
Perfect.
Like your spouse comes home and says, um, I'm taking you to Aruba tomorrow. Get your bag packed. That's a date you want to put in there.
That is
Yeah,
a date I
sudden
want to put in
yeah.
there.
Sudden events like a promotion, accident, proposals, deaths, breakups, ER visits are especially helpful. And you can put in the dates of like my child got accepted to, I don't know, UC Berkeley on this date. Yeah. Yeah. Take your time, use your journal to gather the events. Be as descriptive as possible about your personality. Share the good, bad, and not so flattering. If you love to gossip, put it there. That might be like one of the things that helps me know you're a Gemini rising. Yeah. It's all confidential. So, things to do. If you're interested in having your birth time, your chart rectified, email me at celeste@astrologybyceleste.com and I'll send you the questionnaire. You can take your time gathering all the dates and things. And once you have it all together, you email me and I'll email you a link to sign up and pay for the rectification service. And then once you book, I start to work on your chart. We meet to discuss, and then it's a conversation. I tell you what I think your rising sign is, and what your career is like, and all these different things based on the chart, and then you can confirm or deny if it archetypally fits. But you have new self-knowledge. a cosmic map of your life, and you can introduce yourself proudly with your big three, which is your sun sign, your moon sign, and your rising sign. That's how astrologers introduce themselves to each other, rather than just say. And if you come to my Astro and Oracles every week, where I pull cards and you're supposed to listen for your sun sign, your moon sign, and your rising sign, now you can really participate fully.
Perfect. That's so awesome. I know that took that it was, it took a lot of dedication.
And just
Go ahead.
I want to just highlight, I have new moon workshops every month. You can just drop in for one, buy a pack of 4, or purchase the whole year. There's Sundays 12 to 2, the Sunday before the new moon. And then I'm going to be teaching Astrology Foundations 201. I think I'm going to start in January. It might be next month. You will have to know the basics of the natal chart to take this class. You know what the planet signs, houses, like the basics. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank
.com.
you. Yeah.
Okay. And you can listen to the Celestial Insights podcast to navigate the energies of the week like a boss. Okay, let me stop screen sharing.
This is perfect. I had so much fun, and now I know there's some other things I want to talk about, and I want to take your class whenever that comes available. So, guys, it's been a full hour. I know we're doing this as a podcast, but does anybody that's watching live have any questions? Let us know in the chat. I really appreciate you, Celeste. I know that it's not really a labor of love because you enjoy doing it, but I know that it took a lot of brain power, a lot of slow, methodical training to really be at the top of your game for chart rectification services. So this is
that chart rectification class almost broke me. It was so much, had so much stuff going on. And it was a lot. So yeah, it put a lot of energy into learning how to do this because I was tired of sending clients to other people. And it's like I'd like, as a Taurus, I'd like to keep that money in my own pocket.
And oppositely, I'm like, go to Celeste.
It's not for everyone. This is a lot of work. It's not for everyone. I'm like, I like to get into the nitty gritty of things. I have the South Node in Virgo in my 3rd house, and I'm Mercury trine Pluto. So I'm like digging. Let me get to the truth. Yeah.
Yeah, you are the true investigator, and I just love working with you, and thank you so much for your time today. I think, if you want to find Celeste, you go to Astrology by Celeste. She's on all the platforms. If you want to find Tiff, you can go to tiffanyharelik.com. I'm on all the platforms. We really appreciate you guys live hanging out with us. And until next time, I think I want to close with one last thing. So whenever Celeste and I work together, we like to promote the digital astrology calendar. If you're new to astrology, if you're old to astrology, if you're an astrology enthusiast, if you're astro curious, it shows a list of transits of the planets as well as the lunar ingressions, the planetary ingressions too, ingresses, excuse me, and it has descriptions of each of these transits in the digital calendar. So the digital calendar, you can go to tiffanyharelik.com in the shop tab, and you can use Celeste's code, which is ABC 2024, and you get $10 off. There you go. Okay, we're both doing it. And
you did it. Okay.
We were both doing it. So ABC.
Okay, sorry. So
and I wanted to tell you, Celeste, you must have done something the other day, or maybe somebody caught it on your podcast, because we had 3 people buy from Australia. We had somebody buy from Mexico. We had somebody buy from the UK. And it's so exciting. The reason I wanted to bring that up is because this is the first year I did it in 6 different languages. So if you want to gift it, it's Spanish, French, Russian, Norwegian, Icelandic, German. Did I say German or French? I don't know, but there's 6. And I really just wanted to reach a bigger audience, to reach more people with the gift of astrology, the gift of good timing. Let the universe have your back. And use Celeste code if you want to get a little coupon there. So it helps both of us.
This calendar is fantastic. Tiffany improves it every year. I'm so proud to be an affiliate. I use it every day. Yes, I'm promoting it on my podcast. I made a little commercial for it, so I'm not surprised there are more sales came in. Yes. And yeah, it has all the lunations, all the new moon, first quarter, full moon, last quarter. Tiffany provides the lunar gestational family date, so you can go back and see what's going on in your life that I talk about all the time. Yes, and the Sabian symbol and descriptions and foods to eat. Like, you put so much into it. It's so rich. Yes, so use ABC 2024 to get a $10 discount. And you can either go to just right to Tiffany's, or also Wise Guys Collective takes you to the same place.
Yep, it does.
Yeah, yep. Tamlin uses it daily and loves it.
Tamlin, one of my members. Yes, guys, I've got a membership on there too. So I teach astrology monthly and I do psychic readings for our group. So if that interests you, just use the code 1 month, ONEMONTH, and you can get 1 month free and see if it's the right vibe. I think it's so important to pick an astrology teacher, or 2 in this case, and stick with them for a year, because the amount of information can be overwhelming. But when you kind of stick with a teacher that you're vibing with, you really have a chance to progress and really understand this stuff. So hopefully 2024 is a year where Celeste or Tiffany can help demystify that for you. It's the language of the stars. It's the weather that we all live under. It's the weather that we all live in. It's the thing that keeps us fascinated and inspired and connected to each other in this beautiful world that we get to live in this one precious human life together. So I guess let's wrap it up. And thank you, my friend, for hanging out with me today, and all these other beautiful souls that have joined us live. I can't wait to talk to you again.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. It was such a pleasure as always. Thank you for your comments in the chat, everyone who joined live. And yeah, we'll be back. Make sure you subscribe to both of us, because you never know when we're going to pop on or what we're going to do. Surprise. Yes.
All right. Namaste, guys.